Next, if I could call on the convoy organizers.
Good morning, Mr. Commissioner. Good morning, Inspector Lucas.
Morning.
My name is Bath-Shéba and I'm counsel representing Freedom Corps and the protesters. You would agree that there was misinformation on social media being provided by those opposed to the protest, correct?
Correct.
You would agree that there were people in the OPS that supported the protest, correct?
Personally, but they should not be doing it professionally.
And that there were quite a few OPS officers who participated in the protest, is that right?
I can't say for sure.
You were just asked about your expectations regarding how long the trucks were to stay in Ottawa, in particular the ones that drove from the west, and that would take 5 days, that took 5 days for them to drive from the west to Ottawa. Is that right?
Correct.
And you expected them to leave after 2 days being in Ottawa after the 5-day drive from the west?
We anticipated the vast majority would leave.
You said in your examination in chief that you would not be charging people for broken windows. Is that right?
And I believe I explained that in my earlier testimony.
Could we explain it for the record here for our audience, is that you're not actually talking about broken windows, but instead of the broken window theory, is that right?
No. So what I'm referring to is, for example, if we have an emotionally charged crowd that is marching and protesting and going through the city, and somebody breaks a window in that crowd, we are not going to rush in to arrest them right away for that event, because it has a high volatility to escalate the crowd to more violence or cause injury to the people that are going to make the arrest. We will document, we will investigate, and we will lay charges as applicable for that broken window. It just won't be an immediate action.
Do you mean an actual broken window? Because what you're just defining right there does sound similar to broken window theory, where there's...
No, broken window theory says if you continue to ignore the broken windows, that nobody will care anymore.
So are you talking about an actual broken window?
No, you're referring to broken window theory. That's not applicable in this case. Broken window theory is is not the same theory as this. This is about you timing your investigation and your charges of when you actually make an arrest. There is no requirement for us to immediately rush in to arrest somebody who breaks a window or spray paint something. That's something that can be investigated, follow up, and the applicable charges can be laid after the fact. Now, if somebody were to pull a knife, we are going into that crowd and that person will be arrested, because we have a responsibility to ensure public safety.
That's right. So just to be clear, not talking about actual broken windows.
No.
Thank you, Inspector. From February 10th, you switched from operation level to tactical level, correct?
That was my personal interpretation, yes.
And do you agree that tactical level means managing day-to-day tactical operations?
Yes.
Last week, Mayor Watson testified that a senior OPS official was assigned to be on the ground on Wellington to coordinate the implementation of the February 12th deal with the truckers. Do you know who was that OPS officer assigned to coordinate the deal on the ground, particularly on February 14th?
I believe it was Superintendent Drummond was assigned to do the follow-up with respect to the negotiations.
Is it correct that Kelly Cochran is the coordinator of emergency management and business continuity for the City of Ottawa?
I know she works in that office, yes.
Do you recall communicating with Kelly Cochran on February 18, 2022?
She was in the NCRCC almost on a daily basis, so.
And do you recall Cochran referring to the arrested protesters as detainees?
No.
Do you recall what the weather was like on February 18, 2022?
The first day of the arrest?
That's correct.
It was cold.
Would you agree that it was -24 with a wind chill thereabouts?
It was cold because I actually remember watching the video of them lining them up and the officers giving up their own personal hand warmers to the people waiting in line to be processed on the bus.
Would you agree that if one was inadequately dressed and didn't have those hand warmers and were exposed to the cold element, one would be at risk from getting cold injuries such as hypothermia, frostnip, or frostbite?
There is a risk.
You're familiar with the POU tactical plan, which is a subplan of the February 17th plan that was referred to earlier today. Is that correct?
I'm aware of the plan. I did not see it.
Did you not see any of the plans then?
So at that point, the integrated command and planning group were planning and coordinating. And my focus was on getting our officers through the next 3 hours or the 12 hours that they were working under my command. Those actual operations were planned and coordinated by a separate group.
But those plans would have been shared with you, the mission, the objectives.
The concept of
Processing.
operations, but not the minutiae or the details.
That being said, would you agree that there's nothing that you heard of that was in those operation plans, including the tactical plan, that after police arrested protesters and told them that they were not being charged, that the police were permitted to drive protesters outside of the city core in the dead of winter without access to shelter or transportation or telecommunications?
I know nothing of that. I can't speak to it.
On February, I have one.
You're out of time at the moment.
Can I ask one final question, please?
Go ahead.
Thank you. On February 18th, do you remember Kelly Cochran raising the issue to you on how protesters, or as she described, detainees, would actually leave after being arrested and transported? And you replied, well, they will find a way to leave.
Don't recall.
Thank you, Inspector Lucas, and for your service. That's all my questions. And thank you for the additional time, Mr. Commissioner.
Thank you.
Afternoon, sir. For the record, my name is Brendan Miller. I'm counsel for Freedom Corp, which is the organization representing the protesters that were in Ottawa on January and February of 2022. I just have a few questions for you, and thank you for your service. So if I may, I'm just going to refer to the documents that the commission has already brought up earlier. If I could have brought up OPP 0000151. Okay, so sir, just to clarify for everybody here and for folks at home, this is the proposal, engagement proposal that was worked on between yourself, the Deputy Minister of Public Safety, and Commissioner Brenda Lucky of the RCMP. Is that fair?
Yeah, like there was, yeah.
Okay. And this engagement proposal was essentially approved by the Deputy Minister of Public Safety, but of course, it wasn't his decision whether it was going to be carried out, but he approved it. Is that fair?
Yeah, I don't think that he approved it. I think he was taking it as like for consideration to the ministers. Like that's how, like he was looking for advice to forward.
Okay.
Right?
But he never indicated to you that it was something that he thought was a bad idea.
He never said that it was a bad idea.
And he never indicated to you that anything but taking enforcement action was a bad idea.
What's that, sorry?
Anything but taking enforcement action against the protesters in Ottawa was a bad idea. He said, he didn't say to you that you should cease engaging and that you should direct that there be enforcement actions taken.
No, he never directed anything. Like he did not direct anything.
Right. And Commissioner Lucky of the RCMP, she reviewed this proposal as well?
Yeah, she had reached out to me.
Right. And she thought it was a good proposal?
She had some issues with it.
Right. And those issues, though, weren't with respect to the engagement issue. It had nothing to do with that. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think it was some verbiage. I think she talked about some people had some concerns, right?
Right. And so in this proposal, of course, it says that upon an agreement to the proposal, you'd provide a police liaison in writing a commitment to government engagement at a later date. And that could be shared in a meeting with the protest leaders, right?
I believe so.
Right. So the plan was, and the recommendation was, is that essentially the government of Canada, the political branch of the government of Canada, would agree to a meeting with the protesters, but there would be certain conditions to that, and they would have to denounce anything unlawful and get out of downtown Ottawa. Is that fair?
Yep.
Okay. And in your interactions with the Deputy Minister and Commissioner Lucky after February 12th, 2022, did they tell you anything about what happened with this proposal?
I think the proposal was kind of like dead in the water after the 13th with when the mayor provided his letter.
Right,
And then it allowed the ability to see the outcome of that.
right. Could we bring up another document that was referred to by the commission? It's OPP 00000172. Now, I understand this is an email from the Deputy Minister of Public Safety, Rob Stewart, to you, right?
Yes.
Okay, and in the third sentence on the top paragraph, it says, "We have a big meeting this afternoon where this will be discussed, so I really need your input," right?
Yes.
All right. Did you know that that meeting was at 3:30 PM and that it was with cabinet and it was the incident response group of the political executive meeting and that your proposal was provided to them?
No.
Okay. It was, I can tell you that. And then they invoked the Emergencies Act. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And if you liked this video, remember to like and subscribe and press that notification button to receive more information like this. You can also follow me at yellowhead.vote to stay informed and get the inside scoop. Thank you.